think it's lying. Until people show up, I'm gonna assume that the screen is lying to me that I'm live because, well, you just can't trust people or things anymore, honestly. Well, there is one person here at least, so never mind. I guess it's not lying to me completely. Hi everyone. Welcome in. We're going to give a we're going to give a minute or so for people to trickle in before we do recaps and really launch into things. It also gives people a chance to start posting in questions and whatnot to help keep the live chat chatting. So I did get a couple of old replies from past live chat winners. I have things I got to get in the mail. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So I got to go into town for like 6 different things tomorrow. So if you're one of the few people who've messaged me about previous wins and having, you know, taken some time to get back to me, um, I'll get those out in the mail probably tomorrow. So that way, everyone, that one is knows ahead of time. And people, if you have attended live chats, the bubble in the upper right hand corner, whispers, I think is what it's called. It looks like a little chat bubble icon. You should see if there's a message from me there, because I think that I still have a few outstanding. I think I have one outstanding from like 6 months ago still. But if you'd like, to win a prize, you should reply to those. Um, just just an information tidbit for y'all. And my brain is not functioning right now, so that's awesome. It also means that after this live chat, probably later tonight, tomorrow morning, you should check again anyway to see if you were one of the winners from this live chat, just to make it, easy for everyone to understand. So let's go ahead and get a recap of what has gone on before. Um, Last month, right at the end of it, we posted through Antecedents Legacy, Antecedents Assembly, um, and I think that is the best-selling book out of the Antecedents series to date. I haven't looked at the numbers yet. I still got another, I think, week before the 30-day window that I look at is there, but it was closing in on like the top spot of the series with that book. So that is wonderful. It's nice to see that the series is picking up traction. Normally, you see a drop off as the series goes on. It looks like book 4 of this one will see a bump instead, which is amazing. Um, let's see what else. The audio for that, as you can see on the bottom, is going to be eventually, guys. It's a podium book. I've handed it to them, but it has to go through their scheduling and through Andy's scheduling. It's probably going to take a bit. Um, just so you're aware. I mean, we are still waiting for other audio as well. Um, if things continue like we hope they will, Andy will be getting to. It says eventually there. We'll be getting to Lux Voice 8 audio in February. And if we're really lucky and things don't go completely foobar, she might be able to get to 8 and 9 at the same time. And that is, of course, because Lux Voice 9, the last book of the Lux Voice series, will be coming out right at the beginning of February as we start to try to hit the new schedule that I had hoped to roll into, which is a book every even month on the first. It does make things a little tighter for the next couple of books because it did mean throwing a book in because I got Antecedents in right at the end of December, and then I'm looking at putting Lux Voice out right at the beginning of February. So, like 5 weeks in between those, which does make everything else crunch and a little tighter. I have written Heavenly Chaos 3, um, which that will then be my buffer to have breathing room going forward again. So Lux Voice 9 is going in through like the last bits of editing now. And then we're gonna roll right into Aethers. And depending on how long Aethers 10 runs, things might get might get a little hectic again for us right near the end of that. But then we'll have that nice breathing space when Heavenly Chaos 3 comes up, because that's had its first editing pass already. So we will have breathing room again. It just might crunch things in for the next couple of months. But after that, then we should have a nice, easy, slow rolling rotation of books. You guys should be, barring things going wrong, looking at every even month on the first one of the books coming out. I am going to a 3-book rotation, so it's going to be Aether's, Heavenly Chaos, and Antecedent's Legacy at the moment, which means you'll get 2 books out of every series every year, except for this year because we have Lux Voice 9 in the mix there. So, thank you, Touch. I appreciate that. So things to be aware of. Um, Is there anything else like right now? I don't think so. Just to double check my calendar. I will mention for the people on Patreon, that does mean your last chapter of the preview, it's going to be trunicated this time, is going to be, I think it's the 30th. It's either the 27th or the 30th. And that's gonna, like I said, those preview chapters normally all depend on where the first is going to fall now. I think I have it slated. I'm gonna go look. Hang on. I'm gonna go look. I'm gonna make sure I got my information correct, that I'm not wrong. Gotta make sure I get that correct in there. No, 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 no. That's the bunny. January 30th. Okay, so the last preview chapter will be the 30th, and then I have to pull those down on the 31st. So it'll go up for a day. It'll get pulled on the 31st, probably the morning of the 31st, because I publish on the 1st, and if I can get the book up for at least a minimal pre-order, like a 3-5 day pre-order, that means people will actually get it like probably a couple hours ahead of time. Like I know here in the US, it runs off East Coast time for pre-orders, which means on the West Coast, I get it at 9 p.m. instead of at midnight. So, all things to be aware of. So, I think that recaps everything. Kinda does anyway. I could be wrong. My brain is not braining the best it could possibly brain at the moment. So, how much did you finish? How much did you enjoy finishing the Lux Voice series? As with every series, it's bittersweet, honestly. My hands are very cold, guys, so don't mind me if you see me with my arms crossed. I'm just trying to warm up my hands. Um, Bittersweet always is. You have characters that you grow attached to, that you love. You have a story that you're really invested in. But every good story should have an ending. Um, I had a couple of people say that they thought the series should have ended on Lux Voice 8, and it might have been viable, especially if I left off like a last little blurb there at the end of it. I'm trying to stay away from spoilers there because I know we haven't had audio because that was another scheduling foobar. But for me, the story was always going through where we finish on 9. I tried to keep it. I tried to keep the story focused on Emerita as much as possible, but knowing who the big bad was, and the fact that Doc was going to eventually have to deal with that fallout, that individual and the situation around everything. We do see Book 9 stretch its legs outside of the borders far more in depth than the little the little recap we got about his trip to Zaras and Quinn before. Kin? I don't know. I don't pronounce things for a reason, but it's always bittersweet. It always is. I did enjoy that the fact the series got to finish all the way out though. I was really concerned because the drop off for the series going the longer it went. I think book 5 was the high point of the series, and the drop off was steadily getting worse with every book. However, the last book of every series normally sees a resurgence of interest and sales throughout the entire series because people, oh, it's a finished series now. I'll go back and pick that up. So it'll be interesting to see what 9 does with it being known that it's the final book of the series. So I hope Heavenly Chaos is doing well. I'm really enjoying that series. Jazz, it's competitive with Aethers. I'll say that. Um, I don't think it'll reach the high watermark that Aether set for for best selling book in a single month. Um, Heavenly Chaos 1 was just under Aether's 1, but Aether's 2 and 3 were my best selling. Was it 2 and 3? I think it was 2 and 3 were my best selling books ever. Um, Heavenly Chaos 2 did good, but it didn't match those. But it stayed competitive with its first book. We will see. I have a lot of I had a lot of fun with book 3. And I hope that everyone enjoys it. I did find it funny that people that I did have the negative reviews about how slow book 2 was. And I'm like, there was a lot of combat in book 2 for me and my series. There's a lot of combat in book 2. I don't understand where the slow comments come from. But if they're coming from other series that are similar that focus more heavily on combat and less on character, um, I can see that criticism then. But for my fan base, um, those of you who continue with like the majority of my series and whatnot, I'd say that it's been very well received. So is that the Audible stats that went around tech? I saw a few people posting them on different social media platforms, and it's always um, gratifying to know that my work is enjoyed that much, and I'm gonna stumble even more if I don't close out Discord like I normally do because I have gotten pinged in messages from a couple of people. There we go. Okay. So hopefully that won't be a thing, and then I'll do the other thing that I forgot to do before chat started, which is silence my phone in case my sister or somebody decides they want to text me or call me. Okay, there we go. Hi guys. I'm trying. I really am. Today has just been a struggle day for me. This whole week has been a struggle day. The beginning of this year has been a struggle year. It's not setting, it's not making me hopeful for 25. It's really not. I really thought, okay, I had some really rough moments at the end of 24. Maybe 25 will turn it around. I'm still waiting. Still waiting. Hey, Kenobi. I appreciate that. The fact that you guys continue to enjoy the silly stories that are in my head that I share with you guys is always gratifying. I am flattered every time somebody enjoys a book. The fact that I get to do this as my living, as my profession, vocation, calling, whatever you want, however you want to say it, it amazes me every day. The fact that so many of you guys enjoy what I do and want more of them, it's very flattering. Um, I would like to have more than 4 hours after I publish a book before somebody asks for the next one in that series, but it's still flattering. Uh, No, McKnight. So what happened was, since I had written books 1 and 2 of Heavenly Chaos, before book 1 published, when the rotation came around for me to write what would have been Heavenly Chaos 2 to get it ready for whatever, I wrote Heavenly Chaos 3, which would have been fine and things would have been good if I hadn't suddenly decided to change up my production schedule for putting books out, because I have. That has accelerated a couple of books, like I said, a month faster than they should be, which is what making things feel a little tighter now. What is going to happen is when I finish writing Aether's 10, instead of writing the next Heavenly Chaos, since I already have Heavenly Chaos 3 written, I'm actually going to jump over to start writing the next Antecedents Legacy, then write Aether's 11, then write Heavenly Chaos 4, and that'll get me right back in the march of what series should be written at any given time. And things should settle out the way that I've been hoping that it'll settle out. Um, it'll be fine as soon as we get through Aether's 10, since I have Heavenly Chaos 3 done, and I can just, okay, I'm gonna move past that. Since I already have it written, I can just jump straight over to the next Antecedents instead. It'll catch everything up again. I know I've said this a couple of times. Some days I wonder if I'm a little too repetitive answering questions, and the rest of the time I'm like, fuck it. If you're here, it's because you want to spend time listening to me ramble like an idiot. So cool. No, it's not. So I am not sure if the T or the J is silent. If they combine and make another sound, I barely do English well. My editors would say I barely do English at all. So is AR10 going to be an April Fool's joke? It is not. It is just the unfortunate side effect of me having chosen to put books out on the even months. And the reason why is because the odd months, especially this coming year, I have conventions. Dragon Con is always right at the end of August, beginning of September, and the Lit RPG Con in Denver is going to be held in July. Um, so I chose the even months. I will put out books on the even month, the first of every even month, and make that work. And then I didn't plan out far enough. I probably should have done the odd months and then slated Lux Voice for, what was that, January, February, March, and held off Antecedents until the start of January. Honestly, if I had done that, things would be freaking golden right now from a production standpoint. I would feel like I had all the time in the world. I did not, so now we're here. But no, it is not going to be an April Fool's joke. My holidays were good, Ash. Um, the Christmas, Yule, solstice, Kwanzaa, uh, ooh, I'm spacing on all the different holidays right in that same span of time. Um, it's been seeing my parents and my sisters. We all live here in the same town. We can see each other anytime we want. But Christmas, Christmas, Thanksgiving and Christmas time are the family holidays. They've always been the big family holidays when we lived in California when I was a kid, and we were around my dad's big extended family because he's one of like 9 kids. Um, it was always that we all went over to grandma's house, so there'd be 9 sets of parents, right? And then all of the kids. So we've basically done that same thing. We go over to my mom and dad's house because they're the grandparents now. We do things over there. For us, on the Italian side of things, um, Christmas Eve is homemade pizza, and then Christmas Day is lasagna. So it's a bit untraditional for a lot of other Americans, I know, but we come from we carry on the Italian heritage that my grandmother celebrated. I think that okay. Giving yourself a chance to breathe, help your mental health. If you worked in corporate, they would be dirty words. Um, Honestly, I have been pushing out 7 books a year, which is phenomenal. And it's honestly, I've been putting out a book about every 7 weeks. On average, it's been about every 7 weeks to hit what we've done. So all this changes is instead of like every 7 weeks, it's basically every 8, and that pushes it down to 6 instead of 7. But if I'm doing a 3 book rotation instead, then it gives you guys what you want, which is more books out of any given series every year. Um, it does give me and the editors that probably extra book per series. Or sorry, every book. Jesus Christ, DJ, get your shit together today, will you? It gives us about an extra week per book to make sure that everything's in place. So maybe mental health. I'm going to say mostly towards my editor side of things, but Mr. M, good afternoon, Daniel. Just finished the audio version of Binding Words. Wow, it's been out for a while. It was very enjoyable. Just finished reading Death's Favorite Warlock by Charles Dean. It was enjoyable. However, the last book seemed rushed, though the series was a slow burn off a budding harem. But at the end, all the girls except Death. Some were pregnant with his kids in different worlds. I mean, it all depends on how authors want to how different authors want to run things. I like Charles. I talked to him on and off. I've enjoyed a lot. I've enjoyed a lot of his works. Um, the only one that I don't think I ever finished of his was the Bathrobe Knight. I want to say it was called. It was like the first series of his that I ever picked up, and it was good. But there was that was also when I was like, okay, I'm gonna start trying to write. Um, so I just it was basically it's one of those it languishes in my TBR pile. It's one of those I'll probably get back to it sometime. I tell myself, but if that's the way the author wanted to take the ending with series, that's entirely up to him. At that point, it's know his fan base, know your fan base, and what they will and will not accept. I don't know how that series did for Charles. So no, Brian, I am going to be sticking with a 3 book rotation. So we will not be going for a 4 book rotation anymore. How long has it been since you were last shot by the Nerf gun? Oh, it was earlier this week. It wasn't even involving editing. I just said the wrong thing at the wrong time. Yeah, no, I just answered that one, so I'm good there. Are you going to celebrate the finale of Doc with a nice visit to the shooting range? Um, my town doesn't have a dedicated shooting range that I am aware of. There are a couple of abandoned quarries that most shooters drive out to use. They are well away from any habitation or any living areas and roadways. You need 4-wheel vehicles to get out to them. Um, most people use those as their shooting range. I have not gone with Sean in a while, but we probably will again at some point. Personally, I'm looking forward to more Heavenly Chaos more than AR. Both are fantastic series and can't wait for more on either series. Wow, so Heavenly Chaos overcame Aethers for you, huh, Wolf? All right. I know that would be those would be fighting words for some people, but I don't pick between my children, so every good thing comes to an end, Sticks. Every good thing comes to an end. Lux Voice had a dedicated ending at the start of the series. I am gratified that I got to go all the way through it. Have you ever thought about doing compilations of your series that are finished? No, Brian. Honestly, I have not raised my prices on my books since I started. Actually, I think the year after I started. Um, but honestly, compilations, unless you're doing like a bundled box set that you're trying to draw people specifically in for, um, aren't, how to say this, aren't worth the time and effort uh, needed to put them together. Because if you're going to do that kind of thing, you normally are doing, like I said, a box sets. You need different art. You need whole new artwork. You got to get everything bundled up right, so on and so on and so on. And on the audio side of it, it really does not, it really has not paid to put more books together when everything was basically one credit, and that credit now is 3 books instead of one. So instead of getting like $3.50 per audiobook, I would get $1 per audiobook in that case. Um, so no, I don't have any plans for it. Your silly stories in your head are my release from the norm. I appreciate you sharing it. I'm glad that people enjoy them, Cranky. I'm just flabbergasted every day that people want to hear more about the craziness in my head. The fact that it helps people, um, de-stress after a day, or in some cases from what people have messaged me, you know, going all the way back to Last Horizons. People, reached out and said, "Hey, this was very cathartic. I was, losing a father figure at the same time of this series. It, helped me help me gather all those emotions together." That's always flattering as an author. I'm glad that my work can help people. I've gotten my girlfriend to read the Alpha Company whole series. I'm working on her to read Apocalypse Gates. If she just finished Alpha World, Damon, you should have thrown her into Delta World. You should have thrown her into Dungeon Walkers. At least then she'd get the reference at the end of book one. So just just saying. I hear you. I have ups and downs with several issues with my indefinite migraine, trouble sleeping with pain spiking out, my anxiety flare. Today is kind of a foggy day with my mind and thinking. I understand, McKnight. Not to your degree. I have been plagued with sinus migraines since we moved to Nevada. So since 13. And that's just whatever out here affects my sinuses. They back up. I get sinus infections and I get migraines off of them. Those got exasperated anytime my stress levels went up, because then I started getting stress migraines on top of it. It is not an everyday event for me. I would not be doing well if they were an everyday thing. Um, Even thinking about that, my head hurts in sympathy for you. Um, the fact that you find enjoyment where you can while enduring that, you have nothing but my respect. I see you. I see the just finished X book post on Facebook like 20 or 30 minutes after it drops, and I'm like, nope, no way. But yes, normally it's about 4 hours sticks. Um, three to 4 hours. I do wonder how many of them have read them and how many of them are skimming. I know there are some speed readers. Not there's not honestly there's not that many people who can actively speed read, which is having full comprehension of everything happening in the story. I think most of them read fast, but I think they skim over bits, because I've had some of those people come back to me later and be like, "How come X didn't happen?" And I'm like, "You should go back and read the book. X did happen." Um, but I see a lot of 3 and 4 hour just finished. It was amazing. I also think most of those people are on Patreon. So, they've gotten generally the first 15 to 20 chapters preview from me, which then they just pick up from that spot and then finish out. That makes sense. Um, but if somebody said they finished the book after 30 minutes, they're either the best speed reader in existence, have a what is it, eidetic photographic memory. So they just looked at the pages and it's in their head and they're fine. Um, or they skimmed the fuck out of it. So I am not saying that everyone does that, guys. If you're one of the people who reads exceptionally fast, I am not calling you out. Do not think I am. I get into enough trouble on my own. Oh, we also have ham for Thanksgiving, Wolf. It's the turkey. Normally one in the oven. My brother-in-law does a deep fried, and then the last few years, my set has brought over honey glazed ham. So then my sister brings something, my other sister brings something, so on and so on and so on and so on. It's a family meal. Everyone brings a little something to the table. Now the difference that is Christmas. My dad does my mom and dad do the homemade pizza. They do the crust. They have cut all the toppings. They've done all of that, and then the lasagna. They do all of that. Those days, it's basically go over, sit down, chat, talk. Food comes out, you eat some food, you chat, talk. Oh, hey, the food's still there. Go eat some more food. You chat, you talk. Oh, hey, maybe a little bit of dessert, and then you start looking at the food that's out there and thinking about how much you want to take home. You know, that's just how it works. That's just how it works. Ogre keeps talking about how it's a miracle what his editors make out of his drafts, and I'm starting to wonder if they're the real authors and Ogre's just the figurehead. I mean, I could see where you would make that assumption, but no. I roll my face back and forth across the keyboard. They take the points where I interpose two words or four letters in a word and then fix them and then add the punctuation in the correct spots. Like that comma was wrong, but this needs to have a comma. Those moments. I give them full credit for what they do, but they do not write the story. I appreciate that, McKnight. Like I said, there's a difference. Harem is such a broad fucking category. Everything from what I write to fap fodder. So I can understand where you would need to back off of harem, especially depending on what you had been ingesting to begin with. Um, if it's just fat fodder, I 100% understand. What has been the weirdest book you've read? Hmm. Honestly, I'm probably gonna go with Everybody Loves Large Chests. I never, I never finished it. I never will. I think it was book 2 or 3 where I was just like, you know what? I have some limits on things that I'm just uncomfortable with. I'm gonna set that down. And actually, that had enough weirdness outside of the limits that I have that I was just like, it wasn't an imposition to me to just set it down. I know people who love that series. People I talk to every day are like, I still love this, and I'm like, hey, more power to you. There's just some bits I couldn't get past, and it was a weird enough story to begin with. There are other series, specifically in the harem genre, that cross lines I am very much uncomfortable with. Um, that I don't touch. It's like, oh hey, the first book was good, and then you get to book 2 and it crosses those lines, and I'm like, and I'm done. Just done. And I'm not naming names, guys, so don't ask. I did a spreadsheet to see DJ's release schedule. Before switch to your new schedule, you were really solid on releasing, on average, a book every 50 days or so. Nothing wrong with going to every 2 months. On the first, it's 10 days. So that gives you the cushion and pre-sales count. Yeah, like I said, I published on average about 7 books a year. It's just going to be 6 books instead now. Uh, they're neither of them are in here. Jinx, our big chunky long leggy boy, um, still likes to attack his sister. Gets in trouble for it. Most of the time, he is just laid out on the sofa in his little cat bed because then he's cuddling at a distance when we're out there. Like girlfriend's out there right now, sitting out there playing games, watching YouTube, and he's on the seat right next to her in his little cat bed, and that he's content. Um, Beamer, our little plushy one, who I've picked up and shown you guys repeatedly, um, I think she's starting to go a little bit deaf. She has been more vocal and louder than normal, and she has been getting startled more frequently. She is, I think she's 12 years old now. So, I mean, it's gonna happen. Um, but yeah, we think she's starting to go. We think she's starting to go a little deaf. Otherwise, they're both healthy, and that's what matters. You mentioned that you used to live here in California. Are you glad you're not dealing with the wildfires like I am? Mr. M, I'm glad not to be living in California for a few reasons. Right now, chief among them is wildfires. Never dealt with wildfires when I lived in California, though. Dealt with a lot of earthquakes, but that's California. We lived all over Southern California when I was a kid. We moved on average every year. Um, I think the first time we lived in the same house more than 1 year back to back was my junior high years, I think. Um, my young days are very fuzzy because I'm in my 40s, but I can remember living in the same house for 2 years. But that's the only time span I can think of having lived in the same residence for more than a year. So, but never dealt with wildfires. Earthquakes, though, yeah, that's California. If you live in California, you should expect earthquakes. Do you ever plan on going to some sort of convention or anything outside of the U.S.? I'm not knowledgeable about it, whether there is good big stuff. Just generally curious. Are there options for like a quick meet and greet that aren't that far away? Um, I would like to eventually. I would like to eventually. I do have a passport. I made sure I got myself a passport. Um, but at the moment, there's too much in flux with my life to plan a trip overseas anywhere. Um, but I would like to at some point. If I did, it would. I know that like I know I have a decent fan base in the UK, so doing something like London Comic Con would probably work out. At least like attending and just being able to meet people. Um, there are a couple of places in Europe I would like to see. I would like to visit Ireland. My mother is Irish French heritage. I would like to visit Ireland. There are parts of Ireland I would really enjoy going to. My father is Italian German. There are parts of Italy and Germany that I would like to visit. I have some old WoW friends that are German nationals. I haven't talked to them in quite a few years now. I should reach out to them again. But there are places I would like to visit in Europe. Um, the next 4 years, though, probably very unlikely that I'm going to be traveling abroad. You know, I have to get my own house in order first, make sure all my bills are paid, de-stress some. There's so much going on that it's probably going to be two plus years before I would ever take a trip overseas. But I do have the paperwork at least in order for that part. So one day. Let's see. Hi, Paul. How you doing? I hope the train home is safe for you, sir. Excuse me. Um, there are times I wish the U.S. had put more infrastructure into rail, but sadly we got highways instead. I want to tell you again that your books help me stay sane and keep me moving forward with my kite flying festival that I'm putting together here in upstate New York. So you and because I'm an audiobook listener, Andy, have been a big in keeping me moving forward and getting sponsored and pushing the event. 166 people interested in going or going on an event still has me in a state of disbelief. Congratulations, Outlaw. I mean, that's amazing. Putting together any event is a stressful thing, sir. Um, to have 166 people say they're interested is amazing. Um, I do hope that you're aware that it is going to be probably far less than that who actually shows up. As I have seen and dealt with, the number of people who say they are interested in going does not always equate to the people who show. Since it is a kite flying festival, I would expect at least a decent turnout, though. So I will wish you the very best on your event. It's not going to happen, Dragon. The they had their story. Unless they come to me themselves and say, "Hey, we want to talk about this," I would not expect it. Their story was Alpha World. The fact that they were going to have bit parts in Dungeon Walkers was going to be fun. Sadly, it didn't work out. But I'm not a writer like most of the others guys. I'll say it here. I am just an after action reporter. I tell you what the voices in my head have told me. I don't go, see, look, boop. Thank you, Breg. I don't go plotting out stories and okay, I'm going to do this and this is what's going to happen and then this is the big action scene and it's not how I work. So I can't say yes. I'm definitely going to write another book that follows Albert, or I'm going to pick up the world 300 years later after Sean and his family settled down. It's not how I write. I can't do that. So Alpha World was my introduction to your work, and I've listened to it recently while suffering with a tumor in my right ear. Thank you for the amazing books of the year. You made a sick man curse you multiple times from a hospital bed. I hope that they get that taken care of for you, Rizu. Um, I hope it's what is the word I'm looking for? It's a tumor, therefore it's going to be cancerous. It's an abnormal growth. I hope it's benign and not malignant. There we go. The words I'm looking for. A tumor is never a good thing. Hopefully they get it taken care of for you, man. Um, it's it's not good when you find out that you suddenly have growths in places that you're not supposed to have them. My mother had a brain tumor when I was younger. We found out when she started getting headaches and couldn't see. She gave the doctors a piece of her mind about that, and she's been better since then. So I hope that they are able to help you with your medical needs as well, sir. It would be a shame to just skim the book, John. That's to some. To I do have at least a portion of the fan base who reads as fast as they can. I basically skimming while reading some bits intently, and then as soon as they finish the book, they go back and read it slower. They're just so giddy, so happy to have it that they rush the read the first time. And I've been told, and I know that I shouldn't do it that way, but I just can't help myself. Hey, I'm not telling you how you should read. I am not doing that. So, I understand why. I have been so excited back when I was just a reader, so excited to get the next book of a series of something that, I would do what a lot of you guys do. I would read later than is advisable and be complete shit the next day, but happy that I finished it. So I understand. I wasn't always a writer. I used to be a reader. If not harem, what would be the genre you'd think you'd write in? Pretty sure that's supposed to be genre. I'm not sure I'd write in John Rock. Um, I haven't gotten his consent. I wouldn't feel good about trying to ink something inside of him. Um, as as I have shown, outside of like harem, outside of my relationship preference that I've written since the start, um, I have a very broad stroke for genre. I mean, Western, sci-fi, game, Celtic mythology. Why constrain yourself? I mean, for some reason, for some people, yes, you would break out different pen names if you were jumping genres. Since I write in harem and I can get away with just using my name, and then people aren't surprised by the fact that the relationships are non-monogamous. Um, but the overall setting can change drastically. Do you think you can maintain a 3 series rotation while holding a 9 to 5? Or are you able to maintain your rotation because writing is a full-time occupation? Um, you can hold any rotation working a 9 to 5. The first two, 6 books I published, so the Last Horizons 1 and 2, and the first 4 of Alpha World, I was working a full-time job. I would not be trying to push a book out every 2 months. But I did put out a book, I'll say it was every 3 or 4. So, I mean, a 3 book rotation up and with a book every 4 months, that's still 1 book out of every series a year, which is still better than trad publishing. But if you're holding a full-time job, no, it would you would probably start to burn yourself. You would probably start to burn yourself out trying to maintain that kind of an output for any length of time. I worked nights, um, and I gave up a lot of my quote unquote home free time to writing. So, but if you were working a 9 to 5, no, I think it would be very difficult. I know there are some people out there who can pump out like 20,000 words a day, which is like 10 days worth of output for me. Um, for those people, yeah, maybe, but I still think those people are in danger of burning themselves out. So I hate it. I'm, what is your opinion on some AI generated books being pumped out? I hate the concept. I hate the concept of AI putting out books, because what you're doing to train those is you're stealing other people's works to train your model to then try to get it to give you something okay-ish that you probably then have to go back and fix to put out and call it your book. And it's not. At that point, it's not your book. It's an AI's book that you fixed. So no, I hate the concept in every way, shape, or form. AI does have its place. I dislike it being used in some creative aspects. I really dislike it being used without the consent of people to train those models. That is the one thing I absolutely detest. If, 4 or 5 artists did things and then they got together and they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to train an AI to do our art, do our rough arts for us, and then we'll go back and we'll clean things up ourselves. That's them using their art to train that model. That's completely up to them. But those people who are using AI to help write their books, they're not generating that off just their own models. They're getting that AI model from someone else to start with, who's trained it off whatever they can get their grubby little hands on. They then might start to train it on their type of writing, but most probably aren't. Let's be honest. I really like Heavenly Chaos series. I think it's a needed subject in writing. I had a mentally abusive father and even thought it was not physical, but the series helps awareness of abuse. Um, I am not sure how to break that name down. I'm gonna call you Moke. I hope that's okay, Mo. If it's not, please tell me, and I'm sure my moderator will pass that along to me. Um, the subject of trauma is underserved in most fiction. I have touched upon it across a number of books. Um, now I have pushed it. I've brought it up and then magically had it clear off, like with Luck's voice. You have a dryad that can basically give them nectar to help suppress the trauma that they endured. But if you go read my Alpha World series, which was the second series I wrote, deals heavily with mental trauma across multiple characters. Um, I got away from showing dealing with that and trying to heal past and accept what had come before. Heavenly Chaos was me basically going back to that and being okay. This is a central plot point that should be addressed. Um, I've already had people, I've already had people tell me that I should just have him get over it, and I'm just like, obviously you've never dealt with trauma before. You don't just get over it. It's not how that works. It's not how that works. If you've had trauma and you just got over it, more than likely you've just masked it so good that you're not realizing it anymore. Um, but I wanted to get back and touch on those bases. Will the healing process continue? Will eventually not be a main plot point as the series progresses? Yes, because I would like to show actual healing and being able to move back. Will there be moments where something slips, a small setback, something for them to, okay, hang on, let's address this. It's okay. Yeah, probably. But I want to show that it's okay to need help. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to accept the fact that these horrible things happened to you and that it is possible to slowly move past them. Um, and Heavenly Chaos was heavily influenced by that idea. But if you are okay with the mental trauma aspect of things, and you're okay with, I'm a bad judge because they're my books. Some of my fans, if you're like on Discord and whatnot, would be happy to talk to you about Alpha World. Um, but I think I do okay there. It's not the best. It was my second series, but I tried to handle the trauma as respectfully as I can. I think I could just be bullshitting myself though, because fuck all do I know. I'm just a man who rolls my face back and forth across my keyboard. When writing your books, do you see them playing out as movies in your head, or do you start out knowing where the story ends and you just work towards it from there? So, John, what normally happens is when a story comes to me, we'll say let's take a finished series. We'll take Alpha World because I just talked about it. I knew this was the start. These were key points. The Seamus's um, trauma and how things are going to move forward for him were key points. And then this was the end of the series that I'm aiming for. Those are the things that are normally set. Okay, this is how it starts. This is my main character. This is what's fucked up. This is where I would love things to end. I have hit those points in almost every series. Um, Resurrection Quest only got one book. It never had the chance. Dungeon Walkers had four, and I had to sadly take one of the early outs that I thought would be a possibility if the series did badly. So I never got to the true end point of that series. I gave a soft ending so people could have some closure because I hate leaving series with no closure. It's one of the reasons Resurrection Quest still bothers me. But God, was that my worst selling book ever? I try not to think about it. It makes me really sad. Of course, Resurrection Quest bombing like it did is what allowed allowed Aethers to happen. So mixed bag there for me, honestly. Um, but I normally start with beginning and ending, and then the main aspects of whatever the story is. Doc with just enough knowledge of Western history to have a chance of making Luck's name come back into being for Luck's voice, and then the final showdown that Book Nine ends in being the culmination that I saw in my that I had as the plan at the start. Binding words. Sean, the idea of the world he was going to be on, um, some of and then what the final confrontation was going to be, and everything else, which I find very funny. Then when people in book like two were complained so much about him thinking about his only friend in life and telling me he should just get over that and embrace his new life, and I'm like, okay, okay, guys, cool, cool, cool. I'm sure that'll work out. Um, but I normally have an ending in mind when I start the series. But I don't plot out. It's not like there's going to be these key events that they absolutely have to get to. I normally have beginning, character, and an endpoint I want to get to. Aether's endpoint should be fairly obvious to everyone. I mean, it's kind of been mentioned repeatedly throughout the series. Heavenly Chaos endpoint is still very much unknown to all of you. I don't think. I mean, outside of the big broad stroke of ascending to the heavens, I don't think nobody's fully grasped the concept of everything yet, which is great. That means I have a lot more I can show. Um, but I always have an endpoint I set out for. That was probably a lot more rambly than it really needed to be. Hmm. Would this mythological trip count as AG9? Oh, if I ever eventually go to Europe? Probably not Xerox. I doubt that I will ever actually get back to Apocalypse Gates. It ended in a really nice place. I finished the North America arc. I will probably not get back to Apocalypse Gates. I'm not saying never, but it's highly unlikely. Does the 3-book rotation mean that all books will be done by Andrea? Cheddar, she gets first right of refusal on everything I publish. Any book that I put out, I will always go to Andy first and be like, I know you're busy. Is it possible that you can do this? She gets first right of refusal from everything I create. I would like her to do everything I create. But that is going to come down to scheduling. Does she have the time? Since she is okay with the 3 series that we have that she's currently doing, well, 4 series because Lux Voice, the 3 series that's going to be ongoing, I would think that she would be okay with leaving those slots open for me and whatever I produce. But once again, that'll be up to her. So, man, yeah, what can I say? I do the best I can. I go to Andrea. I tell her, I know I'm here on an important day, the day of the wedding. Oh wait, sorry, I got sidetracked. I remember for AG, you travel to some places for research locations. Have you done research for any of your other series? Um, most of my series are not set real world. They're not set Earth. Um, so no. I mean, the closest that comes was Lux Voice, and I did make trips. Technically, yes, because I did make trips to Colorado. Um, the area that I like envisioned Deep Gulch being in, and the whole like trip up the Denver area and everything else. I did I did go there. Um, but no, I didn't make big trips to like the Mississippi River or anything, or go across the world to visit the various places that you'll see in book 9. Um, I just did the best I could. But since most of my books don't take place on Earth, not so much. I eventually might have another book set on Earth. In which case I will see what happens at that point. I believe he's heavily researched the harem aspect of his books. Well, you live as a poly relationship for a while and you kind of know things. My version of being totally excited and invested in a new book is just reading much more than I usually do. All my free time is reading instead of YouTube or whatever. At the start of COVID, I spent an entire day in bed just reading. AR, I think. Was so hooked, it was a lot of fun. And that's how I used to be when I was a reader. New book came out, that was it. This is the book. I'm reading the book. Get out of the way. I'm reading the book. So I understand. Funnily enough, one of the things I look at Aether and think that it did so well at the time, and phenomenally well, my best selling series to date, was because of when it came out. It came out right around COVID. A lot of people at home with free time. So many moons ago, DJ used to read. Now he only reads when the moon is purple. I'd say when the moon is blue. Honestly, no, Breg. I try to give myself an hour to read every night. An hour to 2. If it's good, it's a book I've been waiting for. I'll put in 2. Um, but I try to give myself that. Now, when you realize that I read basically at this point at the same speed that like Andy narrates, so like one of my books takes her 12 hours to narrate, right? Finished hours, guys, finished hours, not her actively recording them, because that's a whole nother kettle of fish. Takes me about 12 hours of reading to finish a book. So for me, that's like 12 days. So anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to finish one book my length. If it's a series that's like double the length of my books, instead of 120,000 words, it's 230,000 words. It's going to take even longer. Up, there's a cat. What is wrong with the princess? What did what did the princess do? Come here, princess. Little deaf girl. We have the little deaf girl. You don't want to face the camera? No, no. Okay. Bye, Beans. Little deaf girl does not want to face the camera today. But I try to give myself an hour to read every night. But it's like I said, a week to like 4 weeks, depending on the book. to get through it. This is why my TBR does not get shorter. And there are a number of series that I am currently tracking. That, oh, hey, the next book comes out. Now most of those are on like a 6 to 8 month release schedule, so I do okay for the most part. But my TBR doesn't get shorter. Can't confirm the tumor is benign. Unfortunately, it's causing facial paralysis and hearing loss. A high chance of a brain abscess. Other than that, wow. Well, congrats on the benign part. And on the rest of that, holy fucking gods. Thoughts and prayers, dude. Positive energy. Seriously. I hope they get this handled for you without serious complications. Cheese. Louise, cheese and rice and everything else. Seriously. Wow. I really hope they get that fixed and cleared up for you, sir. One of my soldiers was reading Binding Words when I was a drill sergeant. And that's how I found out about your books. Ah, thank you, soldiers. So I know some people don't take a stance. I stay away from most things um, political and religious based. You're here to be entertained. You're not here to be preached at in one way or form. But I will always give my appreciation to the men and women who have joined active service, um, including, and I know some military personnel have looked down upon the reserves or other lesser branches of the armed forces. If you have volunteered, because it is a volunteer army in the United States, you will always have my respect. And if you are not American, but you're UK or one of the European countries or South American or wherever else, if you have joined the military willingly of your own free will, you will always have my respect. If it is a thing where you are 100% have to put in your time, because there are some countries that is true, you will still have my respect. Just a little bit less than the guys who volunteered. Not much, but a little bit. Let's be honest. There's a difference between being voluntold and volunteered. Um, I do thank whoever that soldier was for getting you invested, sir. Hey guys, I'm catching up on your questions. We're almost caught up on all your questions. Well done. I think we're all aware by now that the end goal of AR is Greg beating his personal record for wives. That would be Greg beating the personal record of Sean for wives, I'm fairly certain. And it's not going to happen. All the wives are accounted for. Me and Greg have had a talk, and then we've had a talk, and then we've had a final talk. I know who they are. I know where they are. I know what's going on with them, and that's it. And I will not stand for any more than that. There are some series out there that really screws the pooch in how it depicts trauma. DJ is great at writing and understanding trauma with Lux's voice of how to highlight how much work getting help for traumas you had to use magic to help doc. I I could have left. I could have taken the magical dryad healing for trauma out of the equation. Doc would be a fucking wreck if I did. That series does not go well at all if I did. And it's not just Doc. As you've read the series, you see all the different times a dryad has helped him, his wives, and so on, friends, family, with different various traumas they incur. Um, God, that series would be much grimmer, and There'd be a lot more depression in that series, honestly. Just wow. Just thinking about it, just wow. Nah, Team Asshole is probably going to be retired though, so you know. Well, the cat came, the cat left because the cat is cat. You don't tell cat what to do; cat tells you what to do. The old adage. Um, you take it, you get a dog, you take a dog, you feed a dog, you give it love, it looks at you and thinks you're a god. You get a cat, you take a cat, you love a cat, you feed a cat, it looks at you and thinks, I'm a god. You don't own cats. Cats own you. You're just staff. When you traveled for AG, did you ever see something go, yeah, I'm blowing that up? Um, no, no. I did say I'm definitely putting a demon fish in this river. I did that. That was fun. COVID was when I had a lot of time to stay home and listen to Andy read her books aloud on Discord. I missed that you could see just how much work she put into all the books she works on. Is very friendly with talking to her, fun while doing it. Agreed, Cheddar. Honestly, if you guys if you have not had taken the time, and you do have the time, one day to pop over to Andy's Discord and just listen to the effort it takes to get the finished product of the books that she does. It gives you a whole nother level of appreciation to the work and dedication that goes into them. It is amazing. The reserves were mainly a problem when we tried to call them up and they did not want to go. Well, Evangel, like I said, I understand why there would be some differences of how things are viewed between various branches of armed services. I try not to wade into them since I never served. That's why this is why I respect those who have in one way, shape, or form, because they did something I did not. But with my various physical issues, I am not sure I would have passed through medical, but I did not even try. So Greg will not, as we've seen, Greg is not the one who's normally like must add woman to harem. Greg isn't that guy. That would be more something happening and Yuki going, does she help the family? Is this somebody that we should pull in? Because Greg has never been the one who's like, guess what, ladies? I found one. So was that talk with Greg similar to the one you had with Sean before he life bonded everyone? No, no, that those talks came because of Sean. So, what subgenre will you absolutely stay away from writing, i.e., urban fantasy? Probably traditional romance. Traditional romance normally has a female main lead. Sorry, the female the female main lead traditional romance. I won't go near. I cannot. It's not subgenre. It's main character. I do not feel comfortable writing a female main character. So I'm never going to do that. That is one thing I could say I will not do. And honestly, horror probably. Not a big horror person. I'd probably never write a horror book. Probably. Well, then I won't bring them up. Really, almost done with all the questions. That's amazing. Without the dreads, Luck's voice would be emotional damage to the series. Without the Dryads, Luck's voice would be emotional damage to the series. It would be mentally scarred the series, probably, honestly. I mean, you see it in book 1 where most people do not kill somebody, even in self-defense, and walk away okay from it, guys. Even people who are quote unquote trained to have to take a life do not walk away unscarred. It's not talked about in fiction because nobody wants to deal with it. It's not fun and and pulling you out of life. So very few books deal with it. Is the timeline in AR going to advance faster in the next book? You will find out when it comes out, Steaming. I can't tell you. Asking me what's going to happen in any given series before I have finished writing it is not something I can ever tell you. Antecedents Legacy as a series seems to be moving very quickly. How long do you think Antecedents Legacy will be? I know as an after-action reporter that can be hard to judge. It will be done when it's done. When everything has finished and crossed off and checked and all the boxes have finished, it'll probably be time to end the series. I hope that helps, Guardian. I hope that gives you the answer that you were looking for, but it probably doesn't. No one answered whether we're the Ogre Father's minions or henchmen. I mean, it really comes down to how you're going to differentiate, how you're going to separate those two categories. What makes somebody a minion versus a henchman? Is a minion less important than a henchman, or are they more important than a henchman? I think you have to look at the breakdown of those two categories first. They're not horror stories. They're just horribly spelled, edited, and grammared until the editors get them. Let's be honest. Team Asshole may be retired, but Xander is holding down the fort of being an asshole. Maybe not as big as one, but he still fills the void currently for the MC that does not put up with shit. Because people in that mindset that he came from aren't known for putting up with it. So just when you're used to being shot at multiple times every year, you're probably not inclined to put up with a Karen. Honestly, I'm surprised he was as peaceful and calm as he was in book 4. And that's all I can say because audio. I have a weird niche question. And guys, this is the last question I have currently. So, just saying. Are the fonts you use on the titles on book covers copyrighted, made just for you? You would have to talk to my artists. I'm fairly certain they are open license fonts because my artists are the ones who have pulled them. As far as I know, they use open license fonts, or they've paid for the right to use the font. It is not something I go through myself. So mod equals henchman. There you go. We have had a henchwoman herself reply. Would that just be a hench? The hench has replied. I mean, because we don't want to man woman it. Is it just a hench at that point? Hench person? Is there a cookbook planned, and how goes the cookbook planning? The cookbook has not advanced quickly or far, guys. It is going to be a long work in progress. Okay, it just is. Trying to adapt things to make them work is always going to take time. Henchwench. I mean, if you're fine with being called a henchwench, then you can be a henchwench. I kind of keep wanting to throw an R in there, but that's because I have a problem. Oh, thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that. The the characters of an antecedents are something that I thoroughly enjoy. It also depends on what world you're in. Killing isn't very normal for us. It's a lot more normal in the middle was a lot more normal in the Middle Ages. The world is dangerous. Killing people will be normalized. It won't trauma people as much, I'd assume. I think you would be wrong. I think humanity as a whole would still take it badly. Killing was not, honestly, that much more prevalent. The type of killing was probably a lot more up close and personal, but I honestly don't think there was that much more like murder going on in the Middle Ages than there was today. Um, Getting away with murder was a lot easier because there's no forensics. Um, but it would depend on the world. If you're in a world where monsters are very real and magic is a thing, and there's a whole bit of society dedicated to going out and handling them, those people would probably be slightly more used to dealing with it. But there's a difference between killing a wolf that breathes fire and killing a person. And I think that is a very, very definitive line. It then brings the question of at what point is the monster a monster and no longer a humanoid? You can split things down, but if you're taking a modern day individual and throwing them into in a world where goblins are horrible, vicious beasts and people kill them, and they're bipedal, they have their own language, they have their own society. I think most people from today would still have a problem with it. It takes a very specific mindset to be able to look at a walking, talking creature and be okay with killing them. But that's my opinion. So, if Henchwench swings a wrench at a bench, does the bench break the wrench? I mean, possibly. Wasn't Henchwench a character in Wacky Races? It might have been lost. I'm not entirely sure, honestly. Have you checked out any of Katie Robertson's books? I just finished Heretic Spellblade. The name sounds familiar. I know I haven't read any books by them recently, but the name sounds familiar, so yes, probably. That's the honestly the best I can do. What games have you been playing lately, if any? The little bit of gaming I have been doing, I have been tinkering around with WoW with one of my girlfriends. Something we used to do long before I was a writer. 1, 2 days a week for a couple of hours is the most I really play on it though. Um, Other than that, I have been trying to finish off some of the Civ leaders that I've never finished in Civ 6 because Civ 7 is right around the corner, and Civ has always been one of my fallback games. Um, so, and that, ladies and gentlemen, catches me up on all your questions, and we're an hour and a half in. Oh, so I think since I've caught up, guys, and we're an hour and a half in, we're gonna go ahead and kill things off. Especially since I can smell dinner being cooked behind me somewhere. So I want to thank you all for coming. Do check your whispers probably tomorrow morning and see if I've messaged you. I would like to get you the coin of your choice, and I would like to do it in a timely manner. So please check. And then down there on the end, guys, you can see the next live chat is going to be February 15th. That is a Saturday. It'll be at 6 p.m. my time, which is whatever it is your time. If you're on Discord, the little event updates to your specific time. So it's always useful to be over there, if nothing else, because then you know when what is what and how. I don't think there is anything else though. I think that's pretty much it. And in what 2.5 weeks, we should have the end of the Lux Voice series out, which is why I was wearing my Lux shirt. I will wear it. I wore it this time. I will wear it in February, and then it'll go with my other series that are retired T-shirts, which means I'll probably wear it at a con, but you won't see it on a live chat again. So thank you all for coming. Please check your whispers next time. And until next month, stay safe out there because the world is fucking nuts. Bye.